Welcome to another episode of Violent Minds. I am your resident private investigator. And I guess if you're watching the show violentminds.com, you might see there's a little different backdrop here. And sitting next to me in Newburyport, Massachusetts is
Dr. Keith Ablow, the resident forensic psychiatrist for Violent Minds. That's a nice backdrop you got there. Usually, you've got sort of the private detective backdrop with so many things. Yeah, and this is more your family abode. It looks very, it looks, like a modest mansion, really.
Yeah, I keep a nice home.
Clearly.
My wife's not home now. She works all day as a director of nursing, and then she runs off to school because she's furthering her education. So I'm here goofing off with you while she's behind the books.
Director of nursing. Well, she can make $1 zillion because what I hear is that because of these vaccine mandates and other factors, no doubt, traveling nurses, there are traveling nurses being paid $11,000 a month to show up somewhere and be a nurse for a month because the hospitals can't staff because of the workload, but also because they're insisting on vaccinating everybody, despite the fact that, there may be some questions about impact on fertility and things like that. Maybe. I don't want to get thrown off the air.
Yeah, she's not at a hospital. She's at a nursing home, which is under much more scrutiny and guidelines through the CDC than hospitals.
Sure.
It's actually a shit show, and she's been nonstop stress for 2 years.
Unreal.
A little lull, during the summer month, last year, but then, once the fall came, it picked up for her again, and it was crazy. And as someone tested positive, it's a nightmare.
I mean, so the job stress with the marital stress that you bring to the union, I mean, I feel for her. Her husband is obsessed with Sylvester Stallone and Rocky, collects toy action figures compatible with his childhood years.
Yes.
And she has to go to work to a nursing home and save lives and make sure people don't get infected with things. She comes home and you're like, honey, look what I got for $1,000. This is Spider-Man from 1979.
Right? It's gotta be when it's gotta be within the time frame of when I was a child. I don't collect or play with any toys that are before 1969.
See, I love that because it allows you to hearken back to a simpler time, as we've referenced before.
Yeah, I thought she was texting me. Yeah, I kind of put my foot in my mouth the other night, which I tend to do often. So we went to my youngest son Maxwell's play. So he was in. All right, my kid's blowing up my phone, and I have a bypass on here so I can hear every time he texts. Guess what? I have an oven mitt here. Phone's going in the oven mitt. All right. So
there you go. David Mabarty gave me the equivalent of an oven mitt for my phone. We had him on before, right?
Yes.
He's that libertarian soul who doesn't want to be tracked. But the thing he gave me makes it impossible for your phone to ping off a cell tower. It's like,
did he? Yeah, he told me that.
It's armor for yourself. If you're going to go on the lam, you take the Mabarty envelope and you put your phone in it. Done.
So let me tell you what I did.
What did you do?
So my son's performing the other night. He had a play the other night. He actually played a Mozart piece, which is amazing. I'll send it to you.
Great. Played it on the piano.
Yeah, well, it's a piano-sized keyboard that they had, but he has at his mother's house they have a grand piano at her house. And a keyboard here.
Or the settlement or whatever. Yeah.
And then he sang. So he's been taking singing lessons for about 4 months now. He wanted to kind of branch out and see, and try to sing. And I was kind of pushing him, but not pushing him. And anything he's ever done, he's been wonderful at. But this is the first time I was going to hear him sing.
Right.
because he's been taking lessons and I haven't been going to the lessons. And so I'm like anxiety ridden because like, because for years I've been going to this performing arts, he's been going to this performing arts school. I've been going to their shows and they always seem to throw kids up there that can't sing. And I'm of the theory of if you're not good at it, I appreciate the fact that you're trying, but maybe like, push them towards one of their strengths instead of everyone gets a trophy and telling this kid, male or female, that they're an amazing singer when I'm sitting there going, ooh, while I'm listening. So I didn't want my kid to be one of those kids, and I didn't want to be a hypocrite.
Right.
So he got up there and performed for the first time singing. It was more of a theatrical song within a little skit. And, and me being somewhat of an expert when it comes to talent, because I've been watching America's Got Talent and I've been watching American Idol for years. So I understand terms like, pitch, and things like that. So he sang and he knocked it out of the park. He's got a beautiful voice.
Awesome.
What did he say? I was going to have that talk with him afterwards if he wasn't good and say, Max, I'm not paying $100 a lesson anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like baseball, basketball, wrestling, where you can learn to be good at something. If you're tone deaf and you can't sing, that's
what it is.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I remember my son, my son was really good at hockey as a little kid, really good, better than most of his peers. But let's be honest, there were different leagues and rankings even back then.
Yeah.
And the parents were like, let's go compete in Iceland. I'm like, Iceland? Let's go to Saugus and get our asses kicked.
Right.
How about that? Like,
and hit the hilltop steakhouse.
I'm not going to Iceland. We can go from Newburyport to Revere and get beat up,
Right?
So, but it's like, there is this constant attempt to blow people full of air now. And then, that's just another way of taking away their authentic selves, because if you falsify who they are and you don't allow them to find their real talent, it's just like getting them high. It's what the government wants. They don't want you to find your real gifts. They want you to get high, wonder about your gender. That's your gift. Your gift is you're very unusual. You're not in the right body. Very special.
Right.
Okay, relax.
And I'm not, I dreaded to have, because I was going to have that. I'm telling my wife, I'm like, if he sucks, when we're driving home, I'm going to say, Max, I love you. You're a great actor. You're a great piano player, but give up the singing. But he was wonderful. So he's going to continue it. And his pitch was good and everything was great. And I know everyone's going to hate me for saying, wonderful, but I'm more of a realist and I'm more honest. And like you said, I don't want him to have any false pretenses about himself. But anyway, so my mistake, during intermission, the lights go on and I'm looking at my wife, talking to her, and I happened to point out that I said, honey, you're looking tired. You get some bags under your eyes.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Whoa. That was like me telling Michelle Obama that maybe she needed to lose a few pounds. Yeah, I learned my lesson. I should have talked to you before you did that.
Did you tell Michelle Obama she needed to lose weight?
It's infamous at this point. No, what it was look, I mean, here's the full background. At the time, she was in charge of defining what constitutes a school lunch, right? She was like the nutrition czar. And the kids were complaining, this is inedible. We can't eat this, right? And they were throwing away their lunches because it was like a piece of paper that they said was bread, but it wasn't. And then, this burger, but it wasn't, it was mushrooms. They couldn't eat it. So I happened to say on Fox News, because I lost my mind for the minute, I said, this is so intellectually dishonest. You can't tell me, given the way at the time, she looked at the time, that she isn't raiding the White House pantry like every night. And here she is, defining what is a nutritious school lunch. And these kids are like starving to death, but it didn't go over well.
Well, it didn't go over well when I pointed out that my wife looked a little tired and run down. My wife, who we've already established is a hero nurse and is in school and her shallow husband.
No.
is
And you're like,
pointing
honey, and here she is attending Max's performance. She's doing everything you could ask.
being a wonderful stepmother. And
You're like,
so
you know,
she texts me today. She goes, honey, I just want to let you know I made an appointment at so-and-so's office. I'm going in to get a little work done on my eyes. I'm like, honey, I'm saying to myself,
that cost you $7
well, like,
grand.
she
That
doesn't
comment
really
was
listen
a
to the podcast.
$7,000 comment you made.
Yes, yes. So she doesn't listen to the podcast, so she's too busy. But I texted her, baby, you're beautiful. You were just tired that day. That was an ignorant statement. I shouldn't have said that. You can pick on my lower back fat all you want. But then I'm also thinking in the same breath, yes, she's going in.
There you go. Well, you know, I never know what to think about plastic surgery work. On the one hand, I think it's amazing. Some of the things they can do are incredible.
They're little injections.
Yeah, I could do the
Yeah.
bottoms of my eyes and then the tops but you know, there's a guy in New York, and this I don't think you would endorse, even though there's part of me that would like to do it.
Yeah.
He does liposuction on your abdomen, but he sculpts
Yes.
what would look like a six-pack.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, but if someone touches it, they're going to be like, some six-pack, dude. It's made up of like gelatinous material. Like, I'm not sure.
I had a plastic surgeon hire me probably 10 years ago to do a little domestic investigative work on his wife.
Huh.
And
Huh.
yes, and he was sort of cheap as well. So he was trying to barter with me.
Okay.
So I'm genetically fit, but I'm also genetically tend to get the reverse gut where I, where it kind of goes in the lower back region. And
right.
he was offering to suck that out for me.
Sure. Why not?
But the irony, the funny part is that he was wrapping up his practice also, because sadly he was coming down with MS and he was really shaky. So I'm like, do I really want someone with shaky hands? He'll end up missing and sucking my ass out.
It's probably okay, but you didn't go for it, I take it.
I didn't know. You know what, at the time, I said, look, I read up about it and I'm kind of chicken shit. I'll cage fight, but as far as like procedural, like those type of things, I kind of get skeeved out and wimpy.
You know, what's interesting is that men, as opposed to women, men don't do the things that are seen as hyper masculine electively. In other words, you won't see men going in for a scar to place one, even though it's well known that you might be seen as sexy because of that. But men tend not to go hyper male with the plastic stuff unless it's, well, they do pectoral implants though, right?
They do pectoral, yeah, they do calf implant, they do everything now. Ass implants,
they do all that stuff.
Yeah, ass implants.
This is my real hair. This is my real hair. This is not plastic surgery. But they do have that thing, by the way, where they will tattoo, instead of doing a hair transplant, they tattoo tiny dots on your head, so it looks like you decided to shave your head.
Anyone ever ask you to play Daddy Warbucks in Newburyport's, Newburyport's Company Theater of Annie?
No one has ever done that, but I've been too busy playing myself. But yeah, exactly. I should think about that. But I always thought it was interesting. The tattoo thing seemed almost plausible, but who wants to fool anybody? Like, so then they're like, oh, you shave your head, you decide not to grow your hair, and you have to lie and be like, yeah, as opposed to saying, no, I'm an idiot. I had it. These are dots tattooed by a guy,
right,
to make it look like I could grow hair.
What they should do is someone should invent some sort of a machine. So a lot of people don't go bald. One of my good friends in particular, because he doesn't have the right shaped head. Now you have a good shape.
Bald. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, just some people say, I don't want to, like, I'd rather, like, my buddy got a toupee because he shaved his head to see what it looked like,
Okay.
and his head
Doesn't
was
look
like
good.
all distorted and weird. So a lot of people,
Distorted and weird.
won't,
Yeah.
go towards the hair pieces and whatnot because they don't like how they've experimented to see what their head looks like. So why
Uh-huh.
don't we invent something where actually they can kind of reshape your head, maybe a machine that makes it beautifully round, and and then
Maybe that.
you can
Maybe
go
that.
bald.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe. Maybe. So
All right.
how about what's happening to our fellow bald man, seemingly, Joe Rogan?
He is a fellow bald man, and he's a Boston guy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Newton, Massachusetts. I went to Newton High, I believe. He's
Huh.
in between my age and your age.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, most people know him from Fear Factor. That's, he was, well, a lot of my friends
I didn't know that either. See, I'm like culturally illiterate.
a lot of my friends in the comedy world worked with him locally in Boston.
Okay.
He started off and he's still a stand-up comedian, and then he moved on to, he was on a TV show called News Radio,
Okay.
and then Fear Factor, and then being a mixed martial arts enthusiast, the UFC brought him in the early stages, in the ground floor when they were struggling to make a dollar. Now it's a
Yeah.
billion-dollar corporation, and he's amazing. And then started his podcast in his basement
Amazing.
years ago. Basically, I mean, we're a step ahead of him. At least we're not in the basement.
Exactly.
and just became just took off, because I think he just has interesting subjects and interesting guests, and yeah, he's being, I guess, crucified right now in the media. Spotify, well, obviously we talked about Neil Young went after him. Neil Young, who wrote and sang "Rockin' in the Free World,"
Yeah.
went after him from what he says was, I guess, being irresponsible when it comes to COVID and having certain guests on, and it seems like that backfired because there's a lot of people coming out and supporting him.
Yeah, well, seems like it might be a bridge too far. Like, you try to cancel everybody and you
Right.
might run into, a 50-pound gorilla or 500-pound gorilla. Nobody's canceling Joe Rogan. I mean,
Well,
first of all, his intentions are good. I know they're saying that he said things about folks of color
yes.
that were off color, right? That now you'd say, man, dude, you may have gone too far. When he said them, I don't think he meant harm. I don't think he hates people. I don't think he chooses his friends based on race at all. I've never seen him be unkind to anyone based on ethnicity or race. He was trying to be funny, right? But
Yeah, 100%. And they took 12 years of his shows every time that he had mentioned the N-word, which we won't say on this show. And I guess I didn't see the video. So, I mean, I hate to speak to it because I didn't see it, but from what I've read and what I've heard, they made sort of a compilation video. And he was using the word in context of a conversation he was having someone on a show, whether they were discussing a Richard Pryor skit or they were discussing an episode of All in the Family or something. That's where that's the context of the word he was quoting. The other thing that came out was he made an off-color joke about the Harlem, the Black community, and
that was
between the Planet of the Apes, which is
problematic.
very problematic. But you want to talk, I think they're going after him for the race thing because they failed on the COVID thing.
Right. Exactly. Like, look, would it be I'm Jewish by birth. Would it be a great thing if someone were to say, yeah, I got dropped off, in this area in Newton, And, I thought they'd left me off at an investment bank. I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not a great comedian, but would I say that person can never speak again?
Yeah.
Take his job, demean him, pillory him, throw stones at him? No. Like, I'd probably smile and laugh and think, guy probably is the nicest guy in the world. He's just making a long-standing joke that Jackie Mason might have made in his day. The Borscht Belt comedian.
Listen to any of the roasts with Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Mr. What was his nickname? Mr. What do they call Don Rickles?
Rickles.
Yeah, but he had a name, Mr.
No, I know. I forget. I don't know what it was.
I forget. But so you shouldn't be picking and choosing, and it seems like they're picking and choosing when it comes to this, because they want to bring him down because his voice is so powerful.
Well, yeah, those are the violent minds, though. That's what we're talking. Look, we apply violent minds to a lot of things, ours, etc. Right? Violent because we stand up for what we believe. Some people define that as violence, but real violent minds are the ones that would squelch others, strangle them to death. Mm-hmm. Right? Because they don't like what the people are saying and they want to get rid of free speech. They really do. They want to stop people from saying what they think.
Well, why aren't they attacking, prior to going on the air, which I don't want to play on the show because I find it offensive. And you know what? And maybe I'm hypocritical because we spoke on the last podcast about Howard Stern and we bring him up again. And I remember during some of his specials he used to run and the skits he did, one that's out there, he went blackface. I'm surprised that they haven't pulled that down. But he went blackface and he was using the N-word. You heard it. I mean, it makes me,
yeah,
it makes me uncomfortable hearing what Howard did, but he has the nerve to go out there and act like he's God now. And I'm sure he's been I'm curious if he's commented on Rogan or not. Is he that arrogant where he's commented on Rogan? But that video is still floating around. And why has he been forgiven? But Rogan, who did something not even nearly as close, is being, crucified.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, because it's completely hypocritical is the truth. And these things are highly political. People deploy these criticisms as weapons, not as truth, as weapons. So they are after particular people and not other people. By the way, I don't think any of them need to be driven from the public square. I think we're all becoming pussies. It's like, look, there are ways to say things, even what now is unspeakable, supposedly, where people of intellect and emotion can intuit, oh, this is like being almost like loving in a funny way. Like, can you believe they say this about these people? And we know that, so it's become a punchline. I don't think that Howard Stern and I don't think that Joe Rogan were attempting to perpetuate in an ugly way stereotypes. They are not Klansmen.
No.
Right? This is a joke. They're joking, literally joking. But people
and Howard was joking with Robin, who's a black woman.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, fuck these people.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would cut your throat and cut your vocal cords. Their day is done. Just wait until the 2022 elections and let's see how far the ultra left got with their narrative. But we should never forget one election, and even 2024, if the right president is elected, right with the capital R, even if that happens, we can never forget, like, I'll never forgive the party that had kids around the world and around America, let's just go with America, wondering what gender they might be. That's what they wanted. Close your eyes. My son was in a convocation at his high school where they said mandatory to attend. Everyone close your eyes and think about what gender you really are. What? It's amazing nobody went to the school with a bat.
Yeah, it's insane. And as far as like Whoopi goes, like I don't want her fired because she's just said something stupid. Like, it should be the same rules for everyone. You know, you said something,
Absolutely.
it's television. You take it with a grain of salt, you know, but I just want fairness. Again, I don't really try to play this super political guy that's more your end. I just want everything to be fair. That's it. All right.
I think, yeah, I guess that's more my end, but yeah, and I don't want to fight either. See, what it does is it chokes off discourse, because someone like Whoopi Goldberg, you'd want to say to her, listen, Whoopi, when you were on the show last week or yesterday or whatever, here's what you said. Here's the clip. Now, don't you think that was stupid? And she might say, yeah.
Talk about it on the show. That's
right.
That's more entertaining. Discuss it. And yeah, you know, and I mark my words, by the next time we do a podcast, I bet you Spotify. I know the CEO came out and said he supports him, but we'll see. Something's going to happen. Like, I don't think Dana White's going to do anything when it comes to the UFC, because he's pretty outspoken when it comes to his political views. But you know, if he gets enough pressure from the black athletes that are on the contract, you know, The Rock comes out and supports him when it comes to the Spotify thing, and then he totally flips.
Yeah.
And you know, in
Well, then he
retracts
should go after, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't go after Joe Rogan. He shouldn't go after Howard Stern, but he should go after both if he's going to go after Joe Rogan.
That's the
right.
point.
That's the point. And then you've got groups like, and this is the danger of all of these big entertainment platforms and big tech platforms coordinating with one political party or with government, is that then you've got things like GoFundMe, where they won't give the truckers the $10 million that they
Giving
raised.
it back to the people that
It's
donated money.
Like, excuse me, it's none of your business to supervise which causes are, they raised money happily for the Black Lives Matter protests, which resulted in extreme violence in places. Nobody said, you know what, we better back off. There's violence occurring, give back the money. They were actually going to not give it back to the people who donated. They were going to select other charities to give it to. And then there was a big uproar about essentially what would have been one of the biggest thefts perpetrated in the history of the world, of $10 million, just absconding with it and giving it to other people. These people, how did they, it's amazing, how do the people who run GoFundMe not get, well, there'll be congressional investigations, et cetera, but how do they not resign in utter disgrace?
Yeah, well, then you may
They have no shame.
You may not see him around much longer. And there's other platforms that are stepping up to the plate that are willing to, you know, take the donations and give it to the truckers. Now, you wrote a story recently, and at first I thought it was about me. You texted me the other day, you know, and I see, you know, triple threat. I'm like, you know, so
that's
nice.
your nickname, essentially.
Yeah, just so nice, you know, looks, smarts. What's the third one?
Intelligence. Humor. You're like a quadruple threat. Yeah.
Yes. You know, and then I clicked on it, you know, clickbait, and I saw this great story. So why don't you tell us what, you know, what the triple threat is and how people can read this? Sure, it's on your website, but talk a little bit about that.
So it's a very simple form of arithmetic. The triple threat that could end free speech in America is big tech, government, right? These and cancel culture, right? Because basically what you got is you've got these big tech platforms that seduce people into using them, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or GoFundMe. So easy, just use these things. And they have exemptions from the government in terms of liability that's valued in the tens of billions of value, that they can't be sued effectively for transmitting information because they're exempted. They're not considered to be publishers of information. They're like the phone company. Right. You don't currently, although it could happen, have your phone calls interrupted where someone says, hey, you said not to use masks, so AT&T's cutting off your phone call. Right. Facebook, however, will do that. They'll label you, they'll take you down, whatever it might be. Facebook, Instagram, GoFundMe, et cetera. And unfortunately, they can do that based on government pressure.
Does that
So
fall under
government-
section, does that fall under section 230? Is that how that?
Section 230 of the United States Code,
Mhm.
they have an exemption that says you're not publishers.
Right.
You're not liable for what's transmitted through your site. And yet they
Trump was
act,
trying to change that, wasn't he, to make them liable for the fake news?
yeah, because they are publishers. They're picking and choosing what is said and what doesn't get said. How else could you explain GoFundMe saying we're taking down this particular campaign? Well, wait, you're the phone company. Relax.
Well,
It's not up to you.
When did they enact that? Like when did that originate? 230.
You know what? I'm not sure when the exemption was granted, but the
Yeah.
exemption was granted several years ago.
Was it prior to the social media boom?
It would have been prior to the social media boom. It's what allowed the social media boom to take place, in essence, because otherwise there would have been so many suits. This one committed suicide, that one did this.
Yeah.
And they'd say, well, you're responsible. You didn't catch that and stop it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, no, they said, no, you're just like AT&T or Verizon. All you are is a pipe. Okay, but that's not what they are. They're censoring.
Kind of like one of the originals was when that person took their life because they listened to Ozzy Osbourne's Suicide Solution song, and they went after him legally for that.
Yeah, and so then you add government big tech, which the Unabomber said would be the end of civilization.
Yeah.
Right? He was crazy. He was killing people, but he had brilliant ideas. And then you add in cancel culture.
Right.
And what comes out of that is self-censorship. So that people now on their cell phones will routinely say, I probably shouldn't say that on my cell phone. They'll routinely stop saying opinions because they worry, man, if I say what I really believe, I'm going to be jettisoned from this social scene. I could be pilloried. I could be fired from my job. If I refuse to get vaccinated, I could lose my job. If I go on Facebook and say that, I could lose my job if I'm in a position of authority at a company. So basically what they're doing is putting the censor in the person. Mm-hmm. And that's the real end of free speech, because then people won't even give it a shot to say what's on their minds. You can't get to the truth if people won't argue.
Yeah, nobody says what's on their mind. Rogan said what was on his mind the other day, and they don't want to hear an apology. They don't give a shit about his apology. It was pointless that he made an apology. I woke up the other morning, and I think I know you're up early, so I texted you. I wasn't going to text you at 4 a.m., but I figured I'd wait till 6 a.m. to text you.
Anytime, 24/7 for you.
So I woke up at 4 a.m. I'm sipping coffee, and I see that he posted that, out in California, and it said it was posted like 6 minutes ago. And I'm like, oh boy. First of all, take his phone away from him when he's high. Right. Because it's altering his thought process, and he's being, and he's probably paranoid, and he's sitting there and he's making a video, and you just look more guilty when you sit there and apologize to people that don't give a fuck about your apology, because it's not about that. It's not about someone accepting. Maybe he's apologizing to the people that he cares about, that he may have offended, indirectly.
Yeah, apologies are ruining this too, because basically when there is nothing to apologize for, it does damage to the quest for truth to apologize when, number one, you may not mean it. Number two, it's not clear. Well, what are you apologizing for? Were you actually trying to demean a race of people? Well, then say that. I'm sorry, I was attempting to demean a race. Otherwise, tell the truth and say, look, I have nothing to apologize for because my heart is pure. If I said those things and they upset people, but comedy has been upsetting certain people for a long time. People have to get over themselves.
Kind of like my apology didn't go very far when I made that comment about my wife's eyes the other day.
Well, I mean, she did with it what I think, it's brilliant. She's like, I have no ill will. It's just going to be $7 to $10 grand. to address this. Don't worry about it. I'm doing this for you. No, but people are too, I do think that people are too thin-skinned. We should have learned that, you know, there's so much evidence of how thin-skinned people have become and how sensitive they are to anything resembling, you know, sort of schoolyard criticism, right? Like I keep going back to the debates when Donald Trump would like reduce other candidates to the molecular structure by calling them short.
Yeah.
Now you would think someone running for leader of the free world
Yeah.
has to like do battle with countries. If
Yeah.
you called him short, he'd have a ready answer. Instead, these guys would like dissolve into like what, like just as though they were wax. They disappear. They didn't know what to say. It's like, whoa, he actually stumbled on the fact that a quick barb can cause people to become entirely deflated. That wasn't the intention, even though, of Joe Rogan. He wasn't looking to deflate anybody.
No.
He's actually like yucking it up the way that you would in a locker room.
I don't know him personally, but I know a lot of people that do know him personally. I have a lot of friends that have been guests on his show, and you know, there's not a mean bone in his body. I mean, you know, like he said, he goes, "It's not my word to use." That's what he said. It's their word to use. Well, you want to see some hypocrisy also. So they're trying to take him, well, they're calling him a racist. And, you know, Spotify is causing, you know, these problems. But I bet if you went through Spotify, you would probably find thousands of songs that have that N-word in it.
Yeah, you know who the racists are? The people who are saying, let's keep affirmative action going. These folks need a leg up.
Yeah.
And instead of labeling them as, you know what you're saying, that's racist.
Well, you're friends with Dr. Ben Carson. What's he say about that?
Well, he would say that exactly that. In other words, I don't think he'd call anyone racist, by the way, because he's too high-minded. He would say you're doing damage to people by suggesting they can't compete on an even playing field. They don't need your leg up.
Right.
Okay. It makes you feel good to think that you're going to give them certain preferences. You're weakening them, but you're strengthening yourself. Look how you know, erudite and how elevated you think you are,
right,
for offering these special advantages to others because they need your help. They don't need your help.
We're all human.
Period. We're all human, and frankly, you know, I mean, I don't want to fight Mike Tyson, and I also don't want to try to be the poet he is. No, I mean, he's really amazing with words. I mean, this guy's amazing, right? But you know, it's not about what the skin color is, it's about your talent.
Yes.
And that's what Ben Carson says. It's really about your talent. He also believes the government's after everyone, which is true. He said, if I, you know.
So my children are, three of my children, I should say, my three oldest children are half Cape Verdean, which is, you know, Cape Verdean culture is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, technically, you know, my kids have, you know, have some, I'm trying to say it the right way, some soul in their bodies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, right. Whatever, you know, look, I mean, here's the thing. I never think of it.
So does that authorize me because they're my kids, you know?
Might authorize you.
Is it my word too? Through, you know,
look, it's
rejection.
I don't think there's a word. Frankly, here's what I believe. There's not a word in the English language, a cuss word or one in the dictionary or otherwise, that is the exclusive property of any particular group. That's ridiculous. That's just a way that media is attempting to fracture our good and decent society into pieces, create languages that separate us. That's absolutely ridiculous.
But I do, in the same breath, understand that that's a hurtful word to, you know, to people. And if that word is hurtful to people, then you don't use that word. You know.
Okay. I mean, whatever. I mean, there are lots of words about Jewish folks and white folks and men that are hurtful.
Maybe
I don't want
it's
anyone
the way you
to
say it, right? Maybe it's the way you say it.
It's the way you say it. It's your intent. And then it's, where did we ever stop our empathy? Like, look, Keith Luke, when I interviewed him in jail, who killed 3 Cape Verdeans or whatever,
Yeah.
tried to kill me because I was Jewish while assessing him in jail.
Yeah.
I never for a second thought that it was about me. In fact, I tried to keep talking to him after that to figure out, well, what made you so hateful toward other people? It's self-hatred that you're projecting. There's no attempt to heal in this culture anymore, just to lynch people in the public square for any perceived deficit of sensitivity. And yet the biggest insensitivity are these lunatics with cancel culture. Lunatics. I'm qualified to say that because I'm a shrink. They're not well. They need help. The left in general, by the way, the whole thing could go in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
Really?
Being extraordinarily liberal could well qualify as a disorder, a psychiatric disorder.
What? I'm just curious. Do you have any liberal shrink friends?
I have lots of liberal friends, and I will tell them what I really think, and I'll try to drill down with them and say, now, please, and I'll lean toward them with tell me more about what you're thinking. Why do you think that? Right. And I'll say to people sometimes who support Joe Biden or other members of the Democratic Party who are Jewish, and I'll say, sort of sarcastically, but wait, I thought you were Jewish.
Yeah.
You don't care about Israel. No, yes, I do. No, you just said that you support the Democratic Party. Like, they're not naming streets after Trump in Israel. They're naming towns after Trump. His approval rating is 99% in Israel.
Yeah, he's done amazing.
And here in Swampscott and Marblehead, Mass, and the rest of it, they're all going to Shul, to Temple. Oh, with the blue Democrat. Shut up.
Do you go to Temple still?
No. I run one here. No, just kidding. I don't, except like the high holidays. Occasionally I'll go, but I've become more spiritual than a practicing person, Frank.
Same here with me as far as being a Catholic man, but I just think that everyone has stuff, everyone has skeletons in their closet, and, you want to start playing that game. It's just hypocrisy at its finest. And all these people that are throwing stones, maybe they should hire a bunch of private investigators to, to kind of go on a crusade, and dig up. Like, I think I mentioned before, when I ran for state rep many years ago as a Republican, my Democratic candidate thanked me afterwards, after I had lost, for running a clean race. And I said, why? I said, that's my character. That's how I operate. She's like, well, you're a private investigator. I was fearful that you were going to, try to dig up something on me. I said, seriously, I wouldn't want you to do that to me. So
that's why, I wrote a column that was good, by the way. That shows you're a good man. And that's why I chose you, and you chose me as co-hosts. I hope. Yes. But it's also the reason why, when Andrew Cuomo was drummed out of office, I wrote a very honest column saying, if a guy's been in public life all that time, and the accusations that can be leveled against him are, he kissed me on the lips, not the cheek, at a wedding.
Yeah.
He was going through a doorway and he put his hand on my abdomen as he passed through the door. And 20 years ago, I say he touched my chest without permission. And he says he didn't, but it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, you better have something better than that.
Yeah.
Like, to drum a governor out of office. Are you kidding me? There may be other things with the nursing homes and all that and COVID, but that's not the point. Everyone in the world should have been saying, like, we thought you had some data or evidence that he was a predator. You said he kissed you on the lips. Like, I've had, like, uncles of mine do that at weddings to me. I'm like, Uncle Bernie, it's like,
oh, Janice, don't let Janice Dean hear that.
Janice Dean.
She's the She's the president of the Bring Down Cuomo campaign.
If she was doing it based on the nursing home deaths, which I think she was.
She
and
lost
if-
her mother-in-law and father-in-law.
Well, okay, but I think the Attorney General has decided not to prosecute Andrew Cuomo for any malfeasance in that way. So I don't know exactly how he was thrown out of office. It's hard to say exactly what happened.
What's weird is what's happening in society is like there's, like there should be a statute of limitations on what can be drudged back out.
Absolutely.
In that you should be, persecuted or prosecuted for, because I sat in my living room last night for shits and giggles, and I watched 4 episodes of Sanford and Son. All right, well,
yeah,
I mean,
right. Archie Bunker, Sanford and Son.
Right. So for something that was accepted then, and you pull it out 30 years later, and it was acceptable then that's where it should just be. You shouldn't be blamed for it now, because it's not society. It's not accepted in society.
Well, I think that's true. And I think there should be a presumption of decency and innocence.
Yeah.
There was more that bound us together. We felt like, well, we're all Americans. Maybe we have disagreements, but Tip O'Neill's sitting down with Ronald Reagan and yucking it up.
Yeah.
Now it's a blood sport. So they'll kill you for anything they can. And Republicans, to some extent, are no better, because frankly, there should have been more people at Fox News saying, well, wait a second, like this Andrew Cuomo thing, like, I don't know about that. Was it really? And even if you look at Anthony Weiner, he's become a punchline, sending out pictures of himself.
Dick pics.
It's nutty. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's also the case that technology is doing this to people. The chances that Anthony Weiner would become an exhibitionist on the streets of New York, pulling his pants down, 0.
Right.
No chance.
Yeah.
Something disinhibited him about the technology. And that should have been the discussion we had. Wow. A congressman is sending out pictures of his naked genitalia? Let's talk about what the iPhone has done to people in terms of dissolving their capacity to make choices. It doesn't have anything to do with Anthony Weiner. We don't know him to ever have attacked. I don't think we do.
That's a great name though for that. Like, it's such
it is an unfortunate.
Well, it'd be kind of like if you had a fellatio fetish. Well,
yes, right. Yes, indeed. Then if that were discovered, then it would be quite the headline. I've had my headline.
No pun intended.
Not the headlines.
Yes.
But
See,
I've
you keep
had
throwing
my
jokes out there. You didn't even realize it.
But look, I'll help anyone. I mean, if Hunter Biden came to my office, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I got carried away.
Yeah, sorry.
Got carried away. Your sons can cut that out. No, I'm just kidding. They don't have to cut that out. It's been all over the news. But in any case, I think we just got to give people more of a benefit. And also the biggest group that's under siege in America is white men, period. Men in general. Sperm counts going to 0, they say, in about 2 decades or 3 decades, the sperm count will be 0 if the trends continue, right? Because why? This is a castration nation. You don't have any use for your balls anymore, okay? If you have balls, it's actually dangerous and a risk that they might kill you. So they say it's pesticides. It's not pesticides. It's liberals. Okay, pests, not pesticides.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm not going to get into ball fondling, but.
Well, I intend to keep mine. But that decision makes you a target. If you intend not to be castrated in America, they're coming for you. No pun intended.
No one's castrating me. I am what I am. I know who I am as a person, and I treat people the way I like to be treated. And it's just it is what it is. But it's just everything, racism. Everything's just it's a learned behavior. Like, just at my son's show the other day, there's a bunch of little kids that are dancing and all different races and colors, and it's just so nice to see. and then
Sure.
life and society and people ruin them, and that, it's just, I don't see color. I just see people. And, that's how I see a bald guy looking at you, but, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend to not understand, what it's like, to, I guess, have to live through racism and things of that nature. It's because
Terrible, terrible.
yeah, because I haven't lived through it. So who am I to
But you know what? You're never going to stamp it out by
Yeah.
virtue of attacking comedians who are telling jokes whose hearts are pure. That's insanity.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
there are people who literally are like plotting,
Yeah.
disastrous acts
Right.
based on race. We should be looking for those people, not like distracting ourselves with Joe Rogan as a racist. No, that's just fun and games, guys. Get the FBI working for real on looking for people who are intent on doing real harm. This Joe
100%.
Rogan thing is like a paper tiger.
Yeah, it's a witch hunt. It'll go away. It'll settle down. It's just their last desperate attempts.
Remember the book Black Like Me?
Never heard of it.
Pulitzer, I think it was either a Pulitzer Prize winning book. It was an absolute classic about a white man attempting to understand the plight of Black Americans. He wrote so eloquently about what they were up against. What did he do? He put on full body makeup in order to understand what people were up against. Now, people would say, well, that's quite different. But I wonder if someone could do that without being accused now of cultural appropriation, of being a racist. You don't know our experience. Just because you put on makeup does not make you a Black person. They'd kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It was a brilliant book. It was a brilliant thing to do. It was a loving thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little riled up here.
This
got me in trouble before on Fox when I started talking about weight and everything and women, and I lost my mind. And yeah.
One of my best friends was the best man at his wedding. He's a Black gentleman, and he was adopted by white Irish people. And so I've got to, we've been buddies forever. So I've got to kind of see things through his eyes a little bit, and it's been interesting, through our close to 40 years of friendship. And and I see things through a different lens also, because I have disabled sons. So I see ignorance when it comes to disability.
Sure.
From people. So I get a taste of different things here and there. And nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. Rogan made a couple of mistakes by saying some dumb shit. But you know what? I think the good that he's done in the world far outweighs. And if anyone wants to, pretend, that they're perfect, then they're just a fucking liar.
James Dickey, who wrote Deliverance, also said, we have all been in rooms in which we cannot afford to die.
100%. Christ. Do you know how many flies there are flying around that have all kinds of information on people?
Scarlet Letter, right? Go way back to Nathaniel Hawthorne. She's wearing that Scarlet A, but other people, she can see them, the people who resonate with the Scarlet A, and she's willing to wear it, by the way, which is a beautiful thing.
All right.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
Beautiful thing.
So kind of a just a ranting type show. You're probably going to hate Keith for his views, and you're going to probably think I'm a shallow motherfucker for pointing out a couple of bags under my wife's eyes. But but if you can't be honest with someone, then that's not a marriage. Of course, she quickly pointed out my flaws, and then I got my feelings hurt.
It's okay, because the fact that the vampires want to sink their fangs into our necks, right? Just means we have more blood. Okay.
Yeah.
At heart, and they're anemic. The left is anemic. They've been depersonalized by their party, and they need to go looking for fresh blood.
Fresh blood.
It's okay. I'm making it every day. My marrow is like, it's like a river in Egypt. It's like the Red Sea.
You're rebounding, Dr. Ablow. I think the world needs to watch out for you. And like I said, I'm going to ride those coattails And
I like to be like, I like to say, if anyone can be canceled twice, you're looking at them.
right, I haven't been canceled yet. So
No, I know, but yeah, stick with me, kid.
will I get canceled for the
Cancel
first
together.
time? Really? I'll get canceled?
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe all the bullets will come in my direction. I'm not sure, but
You know what?
possible.
I'll be honest with you. When I was talking about doing a podcast with you, a couple of colleagues of mine said, I don't know if did a little Googling and said, I don't know if that's a good idea, Mark, for your image. And I'll be honest, and you know what I said? I said, I don't give a fuck. Like, because I met him and he's a nice guy and I got a good vibe, and no one's fucking perfect. And so here we are. Like,
Well, it's like, look, no one is perfect. I don't happen to have
said,
done
run.
the things that they said I did. I didn't happen to do, but no one is perfect. I go back to something which Rabbi Daniel Lapin said about a friend of his who was in the news with some detractor, some bad headlines. And they said, how can you be his friend, Rabbi? And he said, well, he's not a choir boy, but I don't know if I'd want to have a beer with a choir boy.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly.
So, look, nobody's perfect. And that's been my whole career, is talking to people about what isn't perfect and trying to understand and empathize with anybody, by the way, anybody.
You're a good man. And if you want to find Dr. Keith Ablow, go to violentminds.com. His website link is on there. And if you want to message me and give me a hard time for being shallow or cancel me, it is what it is. But you know what? I don't know. There's a
What action figure, if
Yes.
someone were to send you as a gift the action figure of your dreams from your childhood,
action figure?
or toy? I mean, you're a toy collector from your childhood.
Yeah, I've been bidding on some $6 million man stuff this week, and there's someone that keeps outbidding me by $1 fucking dollar, and it's like
Really?
I'm just I'm like, are they just fucking with me? So I was trying to get some back when the $6 million man was out. They, aside from the action figure of him and Bigfoot, you can get the spaceship and and different little accessories they would sell. So I was bidding on and we gotta wrap the show up in 2 seconds, but I was bidding, I'll tell you right now, on what is it right here? Vintage 1978 Kenner $6 million man Porter communicator. It's that.
What do they want for that? How much do they want for that?
I think the bid started at, it's like a backpack that, see?
Yeah.
So the bid started at like $20. So it's up to like $61. But every time I bid $10, someone puts $1 more, and it's just pissing me off. So I don't know if it's the actual person that, I'm not really good with this eBay stuff. I don't know if it's the actual person that actually put it up there and they're just trying to drive it up themselves, to make more money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I collect a little bit of that stuff, and you know what? I don't know. It's like, I love all my collectibles and I love my toys, but it's like foreplay. It just only feels good for a couple of seconds, and then it kind of goes away, and then
Well, foreplay is supposed to last longer than a couple seconds.
Mine only lasts a few. That's a problem for another day.
We do have to do a whole show on that. That's interesting. You didn't say the actual, release just lasts seconds. You said the foreplay is seconds. That's supposed to be like an hour.
It's like that old commercial. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Like I'm quick. I just want to crunch and get there and get it over with and get it. Yeah. When you've been married so long, it's just efficient. It's script. I don't know.
What do you think of the line? I know you're a big Rocky fan. Do you have a favorite line?
Well, I have I don't know I don't know the quote exactly, but I have it hanging in my office. about getting knocked down and getting back up again. It's
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's along those lines, but that's one of my favorite quotes. But I mean, I don't know, Yo Adrian, that's my favorite one.
That's not bad. I like that too. I like the one where he's in bed the night before the fight, or one night before the fight with Adrian, and he says, "It doesn't really matter if I win, okay? I just don't want them to think I'm a bum."
Yeah, right.
Mm.
Yeah, because of where he grew up, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's some deep shit. That's some deep
You
shit.
got, dude.
All right.
All
On that
right.
note, you hang on, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. violentminds.com. Check us out. All right. Be safe, everyone.